Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the DAWN webinar today, the Dashboard for Agricultural Water Use and Nutrient Management. The goal of this session is to show you the dashboard, the project, tell you a little bit about what we are doing currently in our phase 2 of the dashboards. And then we are going to go through some of the tools online, explaining what is the logic behind and what are our goals. And in the last part of the session, we're going to dive into the online site, and then we will also have some time for questions. So allowing some time to attendees to join, I will jump into our introduction agenda. As I mentioned, the goal of today's webinar is to talk a little bit about the project, what are the tools that are currently available. We're going to run some of the tools so you can have a taste, a quick taste of what is going on and how we can use them. And then we're going to answer some of the questions that you can post in the chat, as well as in the Q&A box that you have. So you have both options to use. While we wait on attendees to log in, just a reminder for the ones already online, this is our third webinar happening on December 16. We have one more before the end of the year on December 17. So make sure that if you know anyone that wants to join, and that's our next opportunity to interact with the project. I also want to share with you the list of engagements opportunities that we have for 2025, especially in January, and this is for the case of Nebraska. We have the crop production clinics, 8 crop production clinics. We are going to participate in all of them with a small session, and then we are also planning to have a booth with the dashboard, so any attendee can explore the dashboard and can find the locations and play with it. So just some quick information. Again, these are extension engagement opportunities for January. We still have one webinar to go on Wednesday this week. I also want to take the opportunity to thank Talon. He's the extension educator at University of Illinois. He's also helping us to deliver these webinars, as well as Tara, that is with us today from University of Minnesota, that is helping. And last but not least, to Ashley Bergman Humphrey. She is also coordinating all the communication effort through the project. So let's get started with today's agenda. We want to keep it short into 30 minutes so we can take advantage of our time. These are the ways that you have to connect with the project and to stay tuned. We have our X account at DAWNProj, a Facebook account, as you're seeing. There is a Gmail that you can send an email to us and contact any of the project member. We have our website is dawn.umd.edu, where you can access all the material for the project, and also, of course, the dashboard, and find your locations and start using the different tools. And we also have a YouTube channel that you can access to different training videos that show you step by step how to use each of the tools, how to register in the dashboard. So we are working hard to get all these materials and ways to connect with the project, so you can stay tuned. We are currently on phase 2 release. There is a phase 3 release coming in 2025, in the first couple of months of the year, that will include a new version of the data viewer and a new crop model tool that you can use. What we are going to explore in today's webinar is the current status of the dashboard and the current tools that you have. Just a reminder for those online, what is the DAWN project? Is the Dashboard for Agricultural Water Use and Nutrient Management. It's an online toolkit that corn producers in the U.S. Corn Belt can use, and is designated to better inform their decisions. And all these tools are fed by a field level forecast that has a length of 6 months ahead. These forecasts rely on more accurate seasonal predictions rather than historical trends. So for doing our crop management, we are relying on these forecasts, and we will see in the next couple of slides what is the novelty of these forecasts compared to other ones. I just want to take a minute to acknowledge all the institutions that are participating in the project, many universities, Maryland, Nebraska, Illinois, Minnesota, Colorado, the Water for Food Institute here at UNL, and also the Uncommon Farm, that is our private partner that is helping us to develop all these tools. The work of more than 30 researchers is compiled into this dashboard in order to produce tools that can basically help farmers to make better decisions based on a more accurate forecast for precipitation and temperature. Where you can use this dashboard, what is the area that we're meant to be used, it basically is for row crops in the U.S. Corn Belt. Currently, all the tools are designated for corn, but in the future, there is an idea of expanding this to other crops like soybean. So if you're in any of these states, you are welcome to use the tool to help in the decision-making process. As I mentioned before, the DAWN is driven by a forecast from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, that you may all know. But then the forecast that was developed within the project is a climate weather research forecast, or CWRF as we call, that basically is more accurate in the prediction since it's more has a regional approach instead of NOAA that is more kind of a world approach. The seasonal forecast, as I mentioned before, currently 6 months outlook for strategic planning is an interactive dashboard. All the data that you share with the dashboard is fully secure and confidential. And of course, there is no cost of using this dashboard, and we are not running any type of ads. So just make sure that you know this. So all the data that you are using your account is fully confidential, and there is no cost to use it. As I mentioned before, we are fitting all the tools in this model. You have the option to choose NOAA, but also the CWRF model, that is basically a prediction that provides an improved temperature and precipitation outlook that is optimized for the Midwest, for the Corn Belt, to have a better accuracy in those 2 weeks to 6 months, again here, of the time frame for the forecast. And just to show you a little bit of the science behind this, and I don't want to get too complex on this, but basically what you have in the left-hand side is the error of the predictions for temperature and precipitation. Let's say that you run the software, the model, and you ask for the errors of the models. The CWRF, the one in the left, are the ones that was developed in the DAWN project. CFS is a traditional NOAA model, and you can see the more white you have is the more accurate the predictions. The more color you have, the more errors in the predictions. So we are clearly seeing, for example, for summer temperatures, that CWRF has more white in this area. So that means that the predictions that the model did when it was evaluated was more accurate than the current system that is being used. In the bottom part, you have the same thing for precipitation, and the interpretation is basically the same. If you have less colors here, less green or less brown, means that it's more accurate. And if you compare here, there are also differences in the model. So CWRF is being developed by the project and basically is providing better, a better prediction for precipitation and temperature. What are the tools that are currently available? I will mention them, and then we are going through each of them just to show a little bit what is the input, what is the output, and what we can do with them. And then at the end, we are going to run them online. The first one, as I mentioned before, is just explaining that we are using this CWRF model to feed the tools. You can use a crop progress tool that basically can predict important corn growth stages based on inputs as like planting date and relative maturity date. The growing degree date tool that basically make a prediction of when the corn will achieve physiological maturity, and you can basically watch our prediction, but also compare to the historical and to any given year that you want to choose from the list from the last 20-30 years. There is a drawdown calculator that is being used to currently estimate when the corn crop will be achieving certain moisture levels in order to be able to harvest. And this is a tool that is really important to use, for example, in August and September, where farmers are trying to determine when they can enter their fields with the combine. So basically, by entering the location and the initial moisture content of the grain and the target, they can have an estimation based on the forecast on when that corn will be achieving that harvest moisture that we require. The last tool that was developed is the data viewer that is already available, that can allow us to see the forecast or prediction range for temperature and precipitation. This is very useful. You can also, again, see here, not only for NOAA, but also for the CWRF model that we are running in the project. There is a new version of data viewer coming on phase 3 release that will allow you to do like a hindcast, that is basically taking a look to what happened 3 to 6 months before and the current date to see how the model was performing. All these tools, again, they can be accessed through our website, down.umd.edu. And we are going to just go have a quick look of all the tools, and then we are going to see them in action online. Basically, as I mentioned before, the crop progress tool is giving farmers prediction days for important growth stages in corn, like emergence, B3, B6, R1 or sinking, R3 or milking, and black layer. Basically, they can help farmers, allow them to make decisions. As you can see in our next slide, this is a regular output of the tool. Basically, this was run, for an example, for 2022 for a specific location. The farmer were able to select 2 different relative maturity groups for corn, and then 2 different planting dates. And here is the output of the probabilities that the model is giving for example, emergence. The May 26 has a high probability of emergence, and then these bars is showing the probability for the rest of the stages. And that dotted line is the one showing what happened if we run the model with historical mean. So you can see that some years that there is a shift, like in this one, is predicting, for example, for this particular case, that maturity will happen before the historical mean, right? And it's the same thing in the other years. So it means that this particular year, 2022, was a little bit warmer. The forecast was predicting a warmer season compared to other ones. So that's the crop progress tool. The growing degree day tool is a similar approach. You need to select a location. You need to select a growing degree day corn or a relative maturity. And then basically you will have an output where you can see the orange portion of the graphic is the model prediction. The gray is the historical data, with the black that is the 30 years average. And then you have a third line that is showing you a year that is analog to the one that we are running until the same moment. So if, let's say, that the system is comparing data saying that in this particular case, 2016 was an analog year, and then we can see what could happen towards the rest of the growing season. You can also select a specific year that you want to compare. Let's say that you want to compare to 2012 or any other year where you really know what was the temperature conditions, so you can compare and see if the prediction is accurate or not, or if that year was warmer or colder compared to the prediction that we are doing in this particular case. Again, here, just to show what is the data input that you can do, you select your location on the top portion, and we're going to see this in the live site later in the webinar. You select your planting date, your relative maturity, in this case was 115 days. You generate the forecast, and you have this type of output. In this case, this was for 2023. For this Lincoln location, is showing the model was showing, right, that it will be like a colder season compared to the normal 30-year average. It was showing that in this case that 2022 up to that time was the analog year, more similar to these planting conditions. Although later in the season was different, the system is taking into account the current conditions to see what is the analog year. And then in this case, the farmer selected another year that is, sorry, the green was an analog year and the red is the year that the farmer selected as a year to compare. The third tool that I want to show and that I mentioned before is a dry down calculator. Again, this is a simple model that is the most important portion here is that we are feeding the model with this more accurate forecast that has less errors in the prediction. So in this case, you basically select again a location, so that will allow the system to take the conditions, temperature and precipitation for the site that you are interested in. You will put them at 30 days. So when you identify in the field that was R6, you will choose that date here, and also you will enter what is the current moisture at that point, let's say 36% in this case, and then you will be able to select two different targets for harvest, and the system will show you when that threshold will be achieved. There is an alert, there is a yellow one, and there is a red that is the target. In this case, the farmer is targeting to harvest at commercial moisture that is 15%. So that is the case, but let's say that the farmer wants to harvest a little bit more moisture and they have a dry down facility, or they need to send it to the co-op and they can dry it for them. So then you can basically increase that percentage and make that estimation on how the dry down will look like in this particular case. So basically, will allow farmers to improve their economic planning and marketing decisions. And for example, it will allow you also to plan any cover crop planting that will happen in that field, so because they have an estimation on what that field will be released from the corn. Going to the last tool, overview of the tools. As I mentioned before, Data Viewer is a tool that can give the farmers the predicted ranges and associated likelihood for an average temperature or moisture or precipitation condition to happen. In this case, for this particular location was run, and this white dot is basically the precipitation that, sorry, this is it for temperature, but it could be temperature or precipitation that the model is forecasting for the 6 months timeline ahead. It can allow us, if we select, for example, irrigation, to do an scheduling or to take a look to what will be the overall amount of water that we'll have available in the season, and to start allocating inches of water if we have possibility of doing irrigation, or just to take a look what is the prediction for the season in terms of precipitation. And we can compare with the probabilities boxes that we have behind that is showing the forecast range for 75 and 100%, for example, of probability, and also the different colors indicates different probabilities there. So pretty much for this year, it was kind of within the range of 75 to 100% probability. Before going to the website, just want to highlight all the resources that we have online. If you enter to our dash or website down.umd.edu/docs, you will be able to have all the documentation for each of these tools that allows you to get into all the details. You will have also the fact sheets that you are seeing here on the right side, right bottom side of the screen, but also on the top side you have, for example, the Down Project YouTube channel, where you can have tutorials, short tutorials, step by step, how to create an account, how to add and open an operation, how to run the Growing Degree Day tool or the different tools. So we have pretty much put in all these resources available for you to have access and to be able to run the model and to get in touch with the project. Again, just before jumping into the website, I just want to refresh the ways that you will have to connect. If you follow us on X, on Facebook, send us an email, enter to the website, or also revise our YouTube channel. You can like the videos if you think they're useful, and you can also leave comments there on how we can improve it. Last but not lastly, our project is funded by USDA. I didn't mention this before, but all the funding is provided by this grant, and it's basically making possible that you can use these tools with no cost. I will share now, continue sharing my screen, and basically we are going into the dashboard. When you log in, when you land, this is the landing page of the project, the down project. As I mentioned before, if you go to the About sections, you will have access to how we are making these decision support tools. You will be able to meet the team and access all the extension educational material. But we are interested now into clicking into the dashboard and into the login page. You will be redirected to this website. You can put your login information, you can register with a name and an email if you don't have an account. But if you don't want to share any of your data, you can also log in as a guest. I will be logging here as a user because I already have my account. And basically, this is what we have when we enter to the system. If you enter the first time, you will have much less locations. Here in the top left corner, I will just select one of the location, and basically this will impact, all the data that is being used to run the models. So once you get into the system, the first thing that you need to do, as you see, you need to add your operations. So we are just going to click here in Add Operation. So you can enter here through any of these icons, but also you can have here, you click in the tools and you can have all the options, growing degree date tool, dry down calculator, data viewer, forecasting tools. So we are going to start with the settings. You do this the first time, and then all the locations will be stored in your account, and that is fully secure. Nobody can access that data. If you go to My Operations, you will have the chance of searching through the US, the Corn Belt, where is the location that you're interested in, but also you can use here, for example, the search bar by putting a GPS point. You can put a location, you can put the name of a city or a town. Basically, you go to that place, and by making a click, you can basically add your operation and then edit the name of that operation. It's that easy in this case. We have a new location. It's called Hollis in Kansas. And then the next step, you can leave it there as a location, but also if you have multiple places or multiple sites around this area, multiple fields, you can add each of those fields separately. So one thing that you can do is go to Tools again, My Fields, and then basically selecting the operation that we just created, that is this one. You are being able to go around the area and add different fields if you want. Let's say that this is field number 1, that is corn, and we are planning to select already a planting date for next year. Let's say they were planning to planting date in April 10. We save this location, and basically we need to edit the boundary. Let's say that this is our field, so we can draw a polygon, save the boundary, and save the location. So I'm going fast now just for the demonstration purpose, but there is a video in YouTube for how to do this step by step. So now we have a location and we have a field. Let's try to play with our growing degree date tool. If we click in there, we have the option to select NOAA or CWRF. So we are giving the option to the user to select the regular model or the one that was developed by the project, and basically then you can select your specific field. And here we have already is reading that the planting day is 410 that we indicated before, and let's see that our relative maturity is 115. We can generate the forecast, and basically we will have the prediction or the maturity day for August 29. So it means this is early in April, so it makes sense that the prediction is for the end of August. We have the planting date indicated here. As I mentioned before, the gray area is the average of the 30-year normal. The orange is the model prediction. If we are above or below, means that we are above or below the normal conditions. The black line is the average of the 30-year. The green one is the analog year. So the system will find a year that basically, given the conditions of temperature and precipitation around planting date, it will select a similar year up to that time to compare. But you can change that into the system to compare with different ones. So that's NOAA. If you change to CWRF, you can generate the forecast and basically showing warmer conditions in comparison to NOAA in this particular case. For comparison years, you can select, let's say, 2006, and you will have that line drawn into the system. If we go to other tools, we can, let's go to the crop progress tool. It's the same logic. If we select, for example, CWRF, for the location that we have, we need to select different planting dates. In here, I'm going to select, for example, the first week of April, and I will use just the past conditions and the last week of April. So I selected 2, but you can select more than 2 planting dates. And then let's say that I want to play with 2 different relative maturities, 110. And then you can add, for example, 115 and maturity. We can generate the forecast, and basically it will show the same figure, similar figure that the one that I showed before in our slides. What you are not seeing here, since we are using past data, so we are using current year data, we are not seeing the probabilities because it was already happened. It is what we are trying to predict is already happened. So you are not seeing the current percent probabilities, but you are seeing the current date. For example, in this case, May 2nd, sorry, was the emergence date, and this dotted line is showing you what was the emergence date if you run with normal data. So that is one of the important things to explain here, that one of the good thing about this dashboard, that we are not using normal data to run our models. We are using the prediction, the projection of the forecast. So that means that if we were relying on the normal 30-year average, the emergence date in this case will be this one. So the system is showing you that by using the prediction, you're showing that the phenology was ahead this year. Every stage was happening faster, and that can impact a lot in the decision-making process. We can, for example, arrive late to a citrus application because we were considering a wrong estimation of the forecast. I will just dive into the data viewer because we are approaching to the end. I'm going to have 1 or 2 minutes for questions. We have only 2 minutes left, and I want to keep it on time just to respect everyone's time. But basically, selecting here again on top the location, selecting the forecast that we want to use. And let's say in this case, precipitation, we are seeing that for January, the model is forecasting a 1-inch precipitation. Similar thing for February. For March is a little bit above that. And then you can see for the rest of the 6 months ahead. If we select NOAA, and I was playing with this before, you can see that NOAA is almost indicating that we'll have the double of the precipitation for January. So it will be nice to see which of the 2 models are more accurate. So there is a difference of almost 1 inch in January and in the rest of the months on the prediction, comparing NOAA to the model that we're using. So the good thing about this is that you can enter the model and you can play with the different algorithm and see what resulted better, or what was showing a better response to in your area. So I was just stop my sharing my screen here, and then I will just check here on the Q&A box. So we have a question: what is the forecast timeline? How the forecast how often the forecast update is one of the questions. So I can answer that, but the forecast that we're using is being updated every 5 days. Sorry. So every 5 days, the forecast is being updated and incorporated into the system. So if you enter to the dashboard in intervals of 5 days, you should have a different forecast, an updated forecast, I will say. Another question here is, what are the tools coming? If you can provide more details. Yeah, one of the tools, there are 3 tools coming in 2025. One is the updated data viewer that is basically showing like a hindcast, so that is seeing what happened into the past. There is a crop model tool that is basically allowing to play with planting dates and all different fertilizer rates to see how you can predict different yields in your area. And the last one is the irrigation tool. That is a tool that will allow you to play with irrigation and then basically allow to calculate irrigation requirements. Tara, I don't know if you have any question. I was too fast today, but if you want to make any comments, just feel free to do it. So,
No, that was great. Thanks so much, Guillermo.
well, thank you, Tara, for also being supporting. In case we have any other question, just a reminder that we're having a next webinar on Wednesday, and then there are some opportunities of engagement, specifically in the case of Nebraska for January. So stay tuned, and thank you everyone for joining to this webinar.